There is a fantasy that haunts our generation. It's a dream whispered in co-working spaces, shared in hushed tones over expensive coffee, and plastered across a million perfectly curated Instagram feeds. It's the dream of the perfect city. For the last decade, that city has had a name: Berlin. It was painted as the ultimate escape, a utopia for the young, the creative, the restless, a sprawling metropolis of cheap rent, legendary parties, and an endless, post-historical blank slate where you could reinvent yourself. It became, for many, the capital of aspiration, the place to go to truly live. But what if this dream, this perfect city, is an illusion? What if the paradise we're all chasing is a ghost? This is a story about our endless search for a place to belong, and it reveals a strange, timeless truth about our desires. The golden age was always 10 years ago. The pursuit of an ideal city is often a kind of nostalgia, but it's a strange nostalgia, a longing for a past you never experienced. There's a persistent feeling that the real party, the true golden era, just ended. You've arrived a little too late. As the article reviewing Vincenzo Latronico's novel Perfection puts it, the fantasy is that happiness lies not just elsewhere on the map, but at some optimum point in the past. The glory days have always just departed. This feeling is at the heart of the modern expat experience in Berlin. The characters in Latronico's novel, who arrive in the late 2010 seconds, are haunted by a sense of having missed out. They feel envious of the legendary period of the 90s when everything had been up for grabs. They hear stories of the post-wall years, a time of wild, untamed freedom, of vast, empty warehouses available for a handful of Deutschmarks, and they can't help but feel that their own carefully planned existence is a pale imitation. This isn't a new phenomenon. It's a timeless human condition, perfectly captured in Woody Allen's film Midnight in Paris. In the film, a writer is magically transported to the Paris of the 1920 seconds, the era he idolizes. But he soon discovers that the artists he meets there, like Picasso and Hemingway, are themselves nostalgic. They believe the truly great era was the Belle Epoque of the 1890 seconds. And when he travels back to that time, he finds its artists yearning for the splendors of the Renaissance. The perfect time is never now, and the perfect city is never where you are. It's a destination that's perpetually receding into the past. But for our generation, this timeless pursuit has been transformed by a powerful new force: the internet. The characters in Perfection, Anna and Tom, live in Berlin, but they don't really live in Berlin. They inhabit what the novel calls a spaceship, an English-speaking cosmopolitan bubble, perfectly decorated and insulated from the city's grittier realities. For them, and for so many like them, freedom had turned into abundance. This generation of digital migrants, as the article notes, floats above the city's actual, messy history. They are drawn to the blank slate, the feeling of a city hollowed out by history, but they don't engage with that history. It never occurred to them, for example, that the distinction between alt and new buildings in property listings was a line drawn by Allied bombings. The city is not a place to be understood, but a stage set for an ideal existence. It's a backdrop for homemade fermentation kits, gourmet meals, weekend gallery crawls, and chemically enhanced nights in world-famous clubs. And crucially, this life is lived in two spaces at once: the physical and the virtual. As the article points out, the internet came of age along with them. Their adventures, their joys, their perfectly imperfect lives are documented in a rolling journal of Instagram posts and Facebook updates. Their existence is a performance, and it's not complete until its pixelated image ascends into the digital realm. They have parlayed their status as digital natives into marketable skills, designing websites for the same international community they belong to. But this fragile, curated ideal is built on borrowed time, because the real world, with its relentless economic logic, always finds a way to break in. Every urban paradise contains the seeds of its own destruction. The very coolness that attracts the first wave of artists and adventurers eventually attracts something else: money. In the Berlin of perfection, this happens with brutal speed. An injection of dollars fuels chaos in the housing market. The change is visible on the streets. As the article vividly describes, Porsches and Teslas begin to spread south into the once hip districts. In the cafes, the laptops crowding cafe tables became wider and more matte. The culture of abundance that Anna and Tom enjoyed is being replaced by a culture of wealth. The institutions that gave the city its soul are hollowed out. A community center where old-timers played cards is replaced by the flagship store of a Japanese trainer brand. And that legendary nightlife? The queue at Berghain kept getting longer, or their patience shorter. This is the classic, tragic cycle of gentrification. The artists make a neighborhood cool and cheap. The students and young professionals follow. Then come the investors and developers. Rents skyrocket. The original artists and residents are priced out. The very culture that made the place desirable is sanitized, packaged, and sold, until all that's left is a theme park version of what it once was. For Anna and Tom, their extraterritorial bliss is being trumped by its platinum card upgrade. The dream is fading. The spaceship has sprung a leak, and so, like nomads in a desert where the oasis is drying up, they must move on. The hunt begins again. What do you do when your utopia becomes unaffordable? You search for the next one. Anna and Tom move to Lisbon, a city often touted as the new Berlin. They escape the bone-freezing German winters for the sun-drenched hills of Portugal. But they soon discover a strange truth. As the novel puts it, it was all different, yet it was also somehow all the same. The work, the art, the food, it just doesn't feel the same. The magic isn't there. This is the curse of the utopia hunter. The problem wasn't the city. It was the dream itself. So, where is the New Berlin today? As the article asks, is it Sofia, Porto, Raqqa, Thessaloniki? The mantle of the perfect city is always moving, always settling on some new, undiscovered location. But the article offers a final, devastating punchline. Wherever the mantle settles, be sure of one thing. It was much better, cheaper, and cooler 10 years ago. The chase is endless because the destination is an illusion. You are always arriving just after the magic has left. So what was the Berlin dream really about? Perhaps it was never about the city itself. Perhaps it was about a moment in time. The author suggests the magic came from a specific overlap between the city's history and theirs. A fleeting window where a city, hollowed out and cheap, collided with a generation, digitally empowered and hungry for meaning. The perfect city isn't a location you can find on a map. It's a temporary autonomous zone, a brief alignment of personal desire and economic reality, and it can never last. The British architect David Chipperfield, who has spent years rebuilding Berlin's iconic museums, perhaps said it best. "Berlin is not really there," he once remarked. "It's an idea." And maybe that's the story of our generation. We are a generation of nomads, chasing an idea of a life that is authentic, creative, and free from the constraints of the places we came from. We curate this idea online, project it onto a physical city, and live within it for as long as we can, until the dream fades and the hunt for the next perfect city begins again.